screw the wilderness. I would even rather work with a bear, any day, any day. And I'm going to show you exactly why. Because a bear would put women in danger less than these king babies in Hollywood. Ah! Now, I've already taken Christopher Nolan to task as a big old king baby. And his wife is why he's so successful at what he does. Even though he doesn't include any interesting stories about women and has a dead wife or whatever the term is called, problem in all his movies. Still owe you an Inception breakdown, but this is about Francis Ford Coppola or whatever his name is. And this article that came out in The Guardian about what a little nightmare he is. I actually think that bears would be better leaders than these men. Not only are they safer to be around, they would make a better leader. Because these men's little egos get in the way of everything. Their entitlement and their ego. I'm about to do a little deep dive into this dude and how he can just fail forward like most white men, rich white men. The same grace and benefits of the doubt and money that Hollywood would ever give to women or any marginalized group, right? Women, and then less and less the more marginalized you are. Nobody gets as many chances as these men. Nobody, because they're brilliant. They're brilliant. Yeah, just like Picasso, that little 3DO, whatever you could say, the little. I keep forgetting to do this. Join my Patreon and give updates and share things every once in a while. And then with each tier, there's lives or this or that. Just check it out. Link is in my caption. Let's just look at this mess. I just love the way they talk about men. He has this reputation of being an intrepid adventurer. You might call him an adventurer. I might call him a reckless man. Egomaniacal, reckless man. We know them. All those dads that put their family in risk all the time on boats, the wilderness, just doing literally anything in cars. That's this, but on acid. Who was prepared to risk everything. Oh, even your family and your children. Yep. To defy the studios, to go to the brink of ruin and madness. Can we stop framing this like it's a good thing? What? This is bad. He's a father and a husband, and he's in charge of hundreds of people. The worst boss ever is what I would call this. Not an adventurer going to the brink of madness because he's just, oh my God, he has so much vision. All for the sake of art. This is the director version of method actors. Hello, Jared Leto. You just torture everyone you have power over because you just had to do that. I just had to do anything to get the shot. Get the shot. Now, for anyone new here, I worked in the film industry for several years. I worked in the art department, but I started off as a PA. People who get just treated the worst. I worked a little bit in most departments, but mostly art department. And let me tell you something. I will always believe the crew. The actors, the directors, they don't see everything. I mean, sometimes they don't care. They are not affected. They get special chairs, director's chairs. No one else gets chairs but them and the scripty and maybe some producers, but that's it. Everyone else has to sit on an apple box unless you're on Bradley Cooper's set because he doesn't allow chairs. Him and Christopher Nolan, you ableist jerks. Easy for you to stand when you aren't working every day of the year, like a lot of crew members. Just do your little project and you're on set for a couple months and then bada being done. Well, everyone else has to stand. I'm going to get into the madness of that movie he did, Apocalypse Now. But first, let's just deal with him. This dude's 85. Why do we think 80-something-year-old men should be leading anything? Like the president of a country that is armed to the teeth and literally just bullies the world and blows up everything for colonialism and genocide. Anyway, these old men, can y'all retire? No, won't retire, but also won't evolve and change. Now, the funny thing is this is supposedly his last movie. And look at all this crap. No one even thought it's More than 40 years. It's been in the making. Maybe you know what? Sometimes when you try to force solutions, that is the universe trying to tell you, stop, right? He's like, no, this is a masterpiece. It must be made. Look, he had to sell part of his winery to finance it. You know, I like that, like, he's having a hard time financing movies. We know they won't finance anything else. It's actually good. But this is the only time I agree with them being like, nah. New Hollywood Titan. You call him Titan, I call him King Baby. Now, some cast members have spoken positively. Of course they have. Do y'all understand how Hollywood works? There's this thing called a blacklist or being called difficult. And it's usually people who rat other people out for abuse. And now that we know that nothing ever actually happens to these men, even Harvey Weinstein can just overturn a whole thing. I mean, all you got to do is convert to, what is it this time? Russell Brand got baptized by a man with a back tattoo and some other dude. And now he is cleared of all that essay and dating teenagers and all the stuff he did. This little nightmare. Just baptize him. It's all good. Even Bill Burr says cancel culture is over. And no one cares anymore. Correction, they never care. They pretended to care. And Bill Burr, I'm sorry, as much as people love you, you took a big old dump on my Harper's Bazaar piece about men not having friends, and you sent your little Inchmel following after me, so I don't like you. Even though you admitted you never even read the article. Thank you. Fork you very much. But anyway, you know, now they just say this stuff out. They're like, whatever, it's been long enough. Bill Maher, I hate Bill Maher. He's an example men will never be canceled. That man can say anything. He still has his own show. Fork you and toot toot. And Bill Maher was even talking about Louis C.K. still being on the outs, even though he literally won a Grammy after all this. He's been touring since it happened. Literally nothing happened to him. He lost like one movie deal. The other thing is that Shia LaBeouf, you know, our problematic friend that everyone thought might be finally can't. No. He wants to be like a priest. Look at this. He's like, I want to be a pedo. Great. Go confess to this, bro. Meanwhile, he's only doing this because this amazing woman, FKA Twitter, he's facing a lawsuit. I hope to God this woman wins. She has been screwed over but so many times by the media, by this man. And this douchebag puts him in this new movie. Great. This isn't even a soft launch. This is a hard launch of the dude that we were all so tired of, that we thought we were finally rid of. Now, we knew we were never really rid of him. But thank you. He has a long history of doing this, enabling abusers, but I'll get to that in a little bit. The same way Christopher Nolan soft launched Casey Affleck back into fame. Fork you. This dude is hard launching Shia. I don't even care how you say his name. Most times I look it up and I watch videos to make sure I pronounce people's names wrong, right? But these dudes, I hope I'm pronouncing it wrong. You know, I'm going to call you, what's his daughter's name? Sophia Coppola's dad. That's your name now. Simone Biles' husband, Sophia, like, I don't even want to know y'all's names. That you are so entitled. Oh my God, I was just doing this. Oh my God, these are not my instruments. Anthony gave me them. I got way off topic, but just hear this, okay? None of the stars are going to talk about him. They can't. They'll never work again. So if you ever hear a star talking crap about one of their director, understand what a risk they're taking. Unless it's a man talking about a female director or a white person talking about a black director, right? Think about the power dynamics. In general, anytime an actor is talking bad about their director, you should probably listen to them. So anyway, apparently making this movie, I'm too lazy to look at the name right now. I want to give it free advertising, actually. It was almost as chaotic as Apocalypse Now, which again, I'm going to go over in a minute, just how crazy that was if you didn't know. That says a lot. Much time and effort was allegedly wasted. Crucial crew members quit halfway through, and a couple made things even more complicated by embarking on a property redevelopment at the same time. Bad judgment, reckless, wastes money, and yet they still will just keep trusting these dudes with huge projects. It was like watching a train wreck unfold day after day, week after week, and knowing that everybody there had tried their hardest to help the train wreck be avoided. How many people can relate to this? Coppola described Megalopolis as a dream script. He first had the idea while making Apocalypse Now, fueled by the same concern about U.S. imperialism. Oh wow, that sounds like a great guy. We love it when men talk about imperialism and fight the man, and all that stuff. But you know what? You know where all these men fall short? I swear to God, it is so rare to meet a man who cares about this, but will deconstruct patriarchy. My dad was a member of Veterans for Peace, a Vietnam vet. Thought he was just so progressive, and I'm proud of him for where he came from, for really questioning so many things. I mean, he grew up in the South, right? During segregation in the South. Imagine what he was taught, and then he went the opposite way. And I'm very proud of him for thinking on his own and challenging his whole family and all that stuff. But you know what he never questioned? Patriarchy. Never. He thought he did, but he didn't. He loves strong, independent women who will do everything. That's my guess, is that's probably what this dude does too. Bill Burr, same thing. Same thing with most of these dudes. The same way that a lot of white women will be so progressive until we got called white women and we're like, no! Which, by the way, one of my mutuals, White Woman Whisperer, got attacked and demonetized because white women got so triggered by her saying that if in the office, black women will possibly choose the white man over a white woman, because white women were bears to them. And the white women, we did what we do best. This is what a lot of these men on the left are. They will question everything except the way they exploit all the women in their lives, their wives, their mothers, women on set. They won't. Imperialism's bad. The American war machine, bad. And then we'll literally make women sit on his lap on set. If you're a white woman, you follow me, and you're getting really triggered right now, I need you to please not write in my comments. And if you need clarity, I'm happy to, but not in this video. Take a beat, write in your journal, whatever you need to do, but please don't put it in my comments. It'll be deleted. And I'm happy to make a separate video about that. But look at this. Look at this. He has framed it as a Roman epic set him up. Do you see this? Do you remember when women were asking men how much they think about the Roman Empire? Well, he thinks about it a lot. Roman Republic, Roman, la 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 la. And I think maybe sometimes they're thinking about it because, maybe questioning power, but I think it's because they're obsessed with power. The Roman Empire is bad, but how do I get that? And then, like I said, he brings back this douche. He will talk, he takes on big themes like politics, race, architecture, philosophy, love, and loyalty. I don't want to watch any more movies made by men. I don't care what he has to say about humans and love and all that stuff. I guarantee you it's probably messed up. When you're about to see what all he's doing on his set, I don't care what someone like this has to say about women, especially when he does this to women. The fact that he treated his crew, his entire crew, regardless of gender, so terribly, like most of these Hollywood directors. I also don't really care about your artistic vision that questions American imperialism. The personal is political. I don't care what you talk about. If you are not literally trying to merge the two at all times, you're full of crap. Look at this. 300 rewrites. That's insane. 40 years of preparation. Blah, blah, blah. Don't care. So his little buddy is talking about him watching an 84-year-old guy hold it together, that massive team, and have enough brains to be able to direct the actors and camera. It didn't sound like he's holding it together. He was up every morning making notes on his way to the set, or he's discussing ideas with Roman. Look at that. So obsessed with the Roman Empire, he literally names his kid. I'm telling you, he would have failed that test if his wife had asked him that. But she can't. She's dead. More on that later. And at the end of the day, he's also the producer, so he's thinking about his interest rate. As if that was enough, Coppola made life even harder for himself. I doubt that. I mean, we know men hate themselves and they are masochists and will literally just bring on stupid problems and make their lives harder for no reason because they like, I don't know, I think maybe they're jealous of women's enduring, I don't know what it is, besides them hating themselves. There's a lot of things. When he arrived in Atlanta, he was looking for accommodation for his extended family and he wasn't finding anything he particularly liked. You mean to tell me in all of Hotlanta, there was nowhere for this rich man with so much power that he could find that he could put them in? So he bought a drive-in motel, which had just closed, and decided to renovate it. This is who people trust. This level of judgment. I promise you, it is not that hard to find housing if you are super rich in Atlanta. And he thought it's a good idea to renovate a drive-in motel. To put his family up there. Like, this dude is not a genius. He's a masochist. And everyone he has power over comes down with him. That's why I say don't ever date, marry, get too tied up with men who are addicts or hate themselves, because this is what happens. Except the crew didn't have a choice. This is their job. Their boss. So all of them have to deal with this man because he is just unhinged. So all the way through the shoot, he lived there. What is wrong with you, bro? The construction noise started at 6 a.m. When Figs, who opted to stay at a different hotel because you're smarter than this dude, asked how he's handling, he said, look, it's all the same. Movie business, construction business. It's telling people what you want and making sure they do it. That in there lies the problem. Not only does this man not know what he wants, he doesn't know how to tell people what he wants, and we're going to get to that in a second, but he tries to make them do it. And I'm sorry, part of my job was as a set dresser was moving things, constructing things sometimes. I literally, when I was doing props, had to make barf for an actor to then, whatever, using a special combination of cookies and some other stuff. Constructing a house or renovating a motel is not the same as making movies. And you thinking that they're the same shows that you're just an arrogant little prick. Now, there weren't any heart attacks on this set, like Apocalypse Now, but, there was some tussling with Shia. He and Shia had this wonderful, this is how men talk about men. Instead of being like, yeah, he's a prick, and both of them are pricks, and they just couldn't, whatever. Like, they had a wonderful collaboration where they just tussle a little bit. A wonderful, combative I don't know about you, but when I hear the word combative, I do not put wonderful in front of it, which was very productive, I bet. Shia had a lot of questions. You know why? Because he's a little narcissistic abuser, king baby, who probably doesn't think that the actual director knows what he's talking about. You got two unhinged men trying to work together. No wonder it was combative. And sometimes Francis would be stressed by a bunch of other things, and he would respond in a certain way. What does that mean? A certain way. Would he slap him? Probably not. Probably only does that to women. No, I'm kidding. I just literally just made that up. But I'm curious how he handled that. There was a lot of humor involved. Yeah, we know that men hide their violence behind jokes, so it was very entertaining. Yeah, kind of like Tom Brady's roast. I'm wondering if I should do a video on that. He's like, oh no, it hurt my kids. You idiot. Did you not think about that before? Anyway, but sometimes Francis was just like, ugh, I can't deal with this. And he'd just go into the silverfish and direct from there. I don't know what silverfish means, and I don't want to stop my memento to look it up. I feel like I should know that, having worked in film, whatever. By the sound of things, the shoot became a clash between Capella's old school approach. What does that mean? Sexual assault, probably. Privileging spontaneity and the finding magic in the moment, and newer digital filmmaking methods, such as filming actors in front of virtual CGI landscape. See, this is what Christopher Nolan does. Y'all remember when Oppenheimer came out? Christopher Nolan was like, I don't want to use CGI. So he blew up a bomb in the same place that the U.S. government had set off a bomb and created so much hazardous waste. It upended the people's lives there. They never saw compensation. And I was like, but I gotta make a movie about that. A white man's dilemma. I want to make a real bomb. I don't want to use CGI. These dudes will plant corn like Christopher Nolan did, then use CGI. We'll blow up a whole hospital instead of using CGI. I would love to know the environmental impact of Christopher Nolan alone. Movie making is one of the most wasteful industries I have ever seen in my life. It was horrifying. Worse than restaurants or literally anything you can imagine. And it could be a lot more environmentally friendly if you didn't have pricks like this. They want the artistic integrity. They want it to look real. Like, even the people working on this film were like, this dude, what's wrong with you? Look at this. You know, he lives in a world where you're the only one who knows what's happening and everyone else is there just to do what he asks them to do. That's literally what he just said. In that quote earlier, he's like, no, I get to make the decision. They have to follow my lead, even though I'm literally a train where ready to happen. And you know what? See, anytime you hear crew member wishing not to be named, because these people will never work again if they use their names. But these are the truth tellers. Anytime crew members, especially more than one, puts accusations against these dudes, please believe them. The crew members sometimes found his approach exasperating. We had these beautiful designs that kept evolving, but he would never settle on one. And every time we would have a new meeting, it was different idea. I learned this in the art department. In fact, it was one of the scenics. Scenics are the ones who like usually paint things and whatever. Anyway, there's all these different jobs. And they're like, yeah, we learned the hard way that when you present a director with something, give 3 choices like it's like they're a child, and try to put the best one last so that they can still have the power. I'm sure this is the same in other industries. Let me know. I am sure y'all know what I'm talking about. Film industry is a microcosm for the world at large, especially under capitalism, white supremacy culture, and patriarchy, and all the things, right? So it's just that the egos are so big in that industry that all the problems that are happening everywhere are sometimes a little bit crazier, right? And so he was like, yeah, always put your idea last and make sure you're like really like not sure about it. Or something. Like there's this whole way where because they want the power to be like, no, this is the one I think, no. How about this one? No. And then you're like, okay, or I have this one. They're like, that's the one. You know, it's literally all about domination and being like the. Anyway, when the crew members insisted that they needed to do more work to determine how a film was going to look, he'd reply, how can you figure out what blah, 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 blah looks like when I don't even know? This is their leader. This man is like, I'm a terrible leader. I don't even know what I'm doing. But I should be the boss. But also, like, why do y'all trust me? I don't even know what I'm doing. Follow my lead. This is like husbands in a nutshell. Modern husbands. Heterosexual men, especially in a nutshell. This is what y'all do to women. I'm the leader. Well, maybe we shouldn't. No! Well, what do you want? I don't know, but it's right. Actually, that's exactly like when I just said name an example. Women who are married to men who just suck. This is what you do all the time. Hell, this is literally from, what is that wet Greek wedding, My Big Fat, she was like, the woman controls the neck, right? That's what Southern white women, this is what we all been doing, what we learned. Don't actually say what you want. Make him think it's his idea. That's what the crew has to do with this big king baby. A lot of time was apparently wasted. You know what that means? That's money. Every second on these movies, it costs a fortune. I can't even tell you how much money time wasted costs. And they're just like, wow, this is crazy. We're just wasting time. He would often show up in the mornings before these big sequences. And because no plan had been put in place, because good leaders don't plan, and because he wouldn't allow his collaborators to put a plan in place, because good leaders definitely don't collaborate, he would often just sit in his trailer for hours on end, wouldn't talk to anybody, was often smoking wood, and hours and hours would go by without anything being filmed. And the crew and the cast would all stand around and just wait. Well, at least some of them had chairs. Unless it was Bradley Cooper's set, Christopher Nolan's. And then he'd come out and whip up something that didn't make sense. Oh, God, whoever gave this interview, I Love you. And everyone has worked with someone like this in the film industry. If you are on crew, you know exactly what this is like. But imagine that times 10 with this dude who's so famous. And that it didn't make sense, and that didn't follow anything anybody had spoken about or anything that was on the page. And we'd all just go along with it, trying to make the best out of it. This is what happens on sets. You have terrible leadership from men like this. Everyone bonds, and this happens across this, restaurants, all the places that suck that I work. We become so close because we're like the same way children. They're not triangulated against each other. Children in abusive homes are like so close because they're just trying to survive. But pretty much every day we just walk away shaking our heads, wondering what we just spent the last 12 hours doing. As a third crew member puts it, this sounds crazy to say, but there were times when we were all standing around going, has this guy ever made a movie before? Don't ever let any men on the internet tell you that this director is a genius. Listen to what the crew say. They're like, well, this worker doesn't know anything. It's nuts. Adam Driver's first day on set was particularly memorable, a source suggested. Look at this. Look what they did to him. So a Driver's character is supposed to fuse with something, blah, 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 whatever. That's great, except nobody can move, says a crew member. So they basically strapped. Now, this is because the director didn't want to use CGI, right? So they strapped Adam Driver into a chair. This is his first day on set for 6 hours. And he literally took $100 projector and projected an image on the side of his head. I'm all for experimentation, but this is like really what you want to be doing the first day with your $10 million actor. That effect would have been quick and easy to create digitally, they say. So this dude spent literally half of a day on what could have been done in 10 minutes. Now, I just want you to think about this, okay? And I'm giving you 10 years ago figure. I think when I was like a prop assistant on low budget stuff, I was making $350 a day. And then every time we went in overtime, every time we were late for lunch, because if it was a union project, even though I wasn't in the union, I would still get protected. I would sometimes make like $400, $500, and that was like back, like 15 years ago at least, right? Imagine there are hundreds of people on all that equipment there. I cannot tell you how much each day on set costs, but all this time, a half a day, because I want to use the real thing. I don't want to use CGI. Money wasters. You know how I say men are terrible leaders in their families too? They spend, I forget what it is, like 70% at least of all their income on themselves, right? Where women will pour most of their income into the family. Don't ever trust men with money in your house. Or if you trust them, you better look at everything they're doing. This is how they handle, this is like the daddy of this film. That's what the director is. On some level, although there's a few daddies because they got the executive producers and all the people, whatever. The producers, you got your first AD who's the voice of the producers being like, money, money, money. And the director's like, but my vision. But then if the director's also an executive producer and that's his money, that whatever. Anyway, men are reckless. They're terrible with money. They don't value human life. They definitely don't value women's lives or anyone they have power over, really. And we put them in these positions. Well, I would never put someone in this position, but society thinks that men are better leaders. Who are you talking about? Because in the outdoor industry, they're the people who get people killed. Anyway, we're all aware that we are participating in what might be a really sad finish to his career. But some of them felt, well, he was just so unpleasant towards a lot of people who are trying to help facilitate the process and help make the movie better. So not only was he making their lives hard, he was also a prick. Several sources also felt that he could be old school. I love how old school, I know why they're saying that, but by old school they mean pre-Me Too, although Me Too seems to have really meant almost nothing because all these men are working again, except for a few. But you couldn't blatantly do it. Look at this. Old school means his behavior when he allegedly pulled women to sit on his lap. And during one nightclub scene being shot in the film, witness is saying he came on this set and tried to kiss some of the topless and scantily clad female extras. He apparently claimed he was trying to get them in the mood. And this is what he's doing in front of hundreds of people. I'm curious what he may have been doing in private, but we may never know. Someone with this much audacity behind closed doors? Things came to a head in December 2022, roughly halfway through this 16-week shot when most of the visual effects and art teams were either fired or quit. It was actually, he fired the whole visual effects team and the entire art department quit. I saw that in a different document. Now, as a former art department gal, if the entire art department is quitting a massive production like this with all this star power and all this, like if the entire department is quitting, that's bad. You know, another department that walked off and quit? Rust. The camera crew was like, fork this, I'm done. And then someone got shot. Anytime a whole department walks, that is a toxic, unsafe set. I think he had to work quite hard to then figure out how to replace them. Yeah, that should be hard. I think he just wanted to liberate himself while he was shooting. Liberate himself. He wants to get what he gets done without having to be accountable or pay anyone or like respect anyone. So he didn't have to wait for stuff. And then he'd say, oh, I'll fix it later. I'll fix it in post. That's post-production, which I guess he's done. This is how arrogant this dude is. His dig at us was always, I don't want to make a Marvel movie. But at the end of the day, that's what he ended up shooting. Now, of course, co-producer came to his defense. Of course he is, because this is an above-the-line dude. He needs to make this man look well. They don't want to get him canceled, which that doesn't even happen. Image management. I have known and worked with Francis and his family for over 35 years. As one of the first assistant directors and overseeing blah, 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 blah. Don't care, blah, 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 blah. Don't care. This is all a bunch of nonsense. And then he's like, no, but like during that time where he was like kissing people, Francis walked around the set to establish the spirit of the scene by giving kind hugs and kisses. I don't want a kind anything from my boss other than good job. Kind. These enablers are so on the cheeks to the cast and background players. It was his way to help inspire and establish the club atmosphere. What, are you the pimp? You own, which was so important to the film. I mean, if he hadn't kissed all these people and hugged them, even though he has power over them, and that would, in any other occupation, be sexual harassment, he was establishing an atmosphere which was so important to the film. I was never aware. Don't come for me. Don't sue me. I was never aware of any complaints of harassment or ill behavior during the course of the project. You came here to defend your friend, but really, with that last sentence, you're like, yeah, I heard some stuff, but I never saw it. He just did this to clear his own name. Okay, notice the chairs. Only directors, actors, producers, and scripty usually get a chair. I mean, every once in a while someone else. Everyone else has to sit on a box or lean against something. They work at least 12 hours a day. Usually up to 16. They're not supposed to keep you after 16. And you gotta go home, shower, and somehow get way less than 8 hours of sleep and go back and do it all over again 5 days in a row. And that's assuming they're not doing night shoots and shooting night for day and day for night, and they don't give you little jet lag. Which, by the way, this just happened. This is why IATSE and all these unions, this is how they treat people in the film industry with a union. Someone just died on another set, got into a car accident on the way home from a 14-hour overnight shift. His second one in a row. He left work after 4 a.m. on a Saturday morning because this is what they always do. By Friday, you're working so late that we call it what's the name for it? Film industry folks who follow me. What is it named? Like the weekend that's not a weekend? Fraturday. There's even a name for it. This is how common it is. Drove off the road, was on the cusp of retirement with his paperwork filed. He was literally waiting, these people on the crew never see their families. He had literally filed the paperwork to retire, worked 2 14-hour shifts in a row, and then died on his way home. Why am I talking about this? This is what these men Not just men, women who act like men do this too. So many of these people running these sets are the worst leaders ever, and then they get people unalive. Don't even get me started on Halle Berry. That woman has been hurt by so many people on set. And then, I don't know if you saw, now her doctor told her she had herpes when it was perimenopause. I should do a video on that. There's too many to do, y'all. I can't keep up with my own ideas. Why am I talking about all this? Because this is so normalized in the film industry. This whole like crazy story is not even that crazy. The only reason why it's getting any press is because it's a big name director, big name star. But just this happens all the time, y'all. Rust is not that abnormal. It's just that they broke all the rules, and I hope Alec goes to jail where he belongs. Don't come for me. I did videos proving why that man is guilty. Anyway, look at this though. During the time he was shooting blah, 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 was also contending with the fact that his wife, Eleanor, had become ill. She was on set and location during the making. She was also in Apocalypse Now. This man drug his wife around to everything. She was on set and making of the film until her illness prevented her from being there. She died last month. Remember I tell you whenever the wife dies before the husband, assume he had something to do with her death? These men stress out everyone who has to live with them, especially the women who are in the sidecar of their motorcycle adventure of life. And if they're reckless drivers, you better watch out. You're going to get diagnosed with something. These men will literally make you sick, exhaust you, or just like put you in danger in all these other ways. Whatever. I'm not saying it's just him, but I am saying perhaps at 85, you should have retired instead of dragging your wife through all this crap. Or she got sick and died. God! Look at this. The reactions to the film are like not great. They're like, it's batshit crazy. Someone else says, there's just no way to position this movie. Someone else says, it's so not good. And it was so sad watching it. This is how he should end his directing career. I got some news for you. First of all, this came out a year ago where there was like rumors that this set was in this chaos. Absolute madness. Oh, here it is. Whole art department designed, visual effects, all fine. He said blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Don't even bother reading this crap. But, he's like, I don't know what anybody's talking about. I'm so glad the crew members came out and talked. I told you, these men try to sound so dumb. They're like, what? What? Even his Adam Driver's like, no, it was amazing. I'm telling you, even it's like they can't say anything bad, y'all. They can't. Don't believe the actor. Unless they're saying something bad, don't believe it. Because the crew are always getting treated worse than those actors. And the actors get treated like crap a lot of times. But guess what? This is not my final film. Look, in March, he's like, this isn't my final film. Bro, maybe it should be. Can you please retire? God! The only thing that would be worse is if you ran for president right now. But even that might be better than who we've got right now. God. Despite all this stuff, you're always going to have these fanboys. It's almost always men. They even made fun of it in Barbie, didn't they? Men are like, The Godfather is like the best thing ever made. These men worship male directors. It's always male. It's always male. They worship, and they'll say this, I feel like I was a part of history. Megalopolis is a brilliant visionary masterpiece. This film is like Einstein and relativity in 1905. Are you making references to Picasso? You really want to bring up that? I already did. Y'all look up my Picasso video. Like, shut up. They're like, yeah, it's probably going to win awards, even though it's crap. God. Some people are even being mad, but they thought Apocalypse Now was going to You know what? Apocalypse Now. Let's talk about that now, shall we? Stuff was so bonkers on this set. Martin Sheen credits this with getting him sober. Punching mirrors. All this stuff. They were all so high and drunk. Look at this. He says, look, Sheen said that this performance where he rides and smears himself in blood was spontaneous and was an exorcism of his long-standing alcoholism. Like, all these people, God, I haven't even seen, his wife made a documentary about making this movie. I think it was called Heart of Darkness. So imagine being married to this dude, who is the worst leader ever, leading all of these unhinged men. No telling what he's doing to women. And then documenting that stuff. No wonder she died before him. Let's look at some of the crazy stuff from this. The whole cast and crew were taken wrong. And one of the reasons, because they had to work the long hours. Look at this. Okay, so they're up on speed all night because they're working. We were bad. We were just bad boys. Y'all, anytime men admit that, I don't even want to know what they're doing. There's no telling what they're doing to women. A bunch of rich, famous, egotistical, crazy, high white men from a Western country going to the global South country. Like, you know, there is no telling. These are like worse than the passport bros and all that stuff. These men are way worse. We'll never know because no one's ever going to ask the women who lived there what these men did. I'm just telling you, given how this man treats women now in 2024 on his set after post Me Too, where they're held accountable, I mean, whatever. But this was like decades ago. I'm just saying, there's no telling what this man and all the Marlon Brando, we know what he did with that butter on the last tango in Paris. All these men, just assume they have done some awful things, especially to women, because that is somehow like not included in all of their activism, is respecting women, especially ones that they get intimate with, live under the same house as, or encounter when they are away from home. Anyway, God. Even though the director didn't even have a history of drunkenness or addictions, this is when he started smoking. The grass affected me a little bit. I was more able to say how I felt. Oh my God. Great. It was like Vietnam. It was there and everybody was doing it. I also started getting very paranoid. Great. A man with that much power. Now he's like unhinged and paranoid because he's... But look, he was also schmoocidal. So even though he wasn't dealing with children on camera, but in a questionable act of parenting, he brought his young children, and then including his then 5-year-old Sophia, to the Philippines. Hang out in the jungle with a bunch of hippies, a bunch of unhinged men. There's no, oh God. Has she ever talked about being on? Of course, she had her all-powerful daddy, so she had some protection there, but still. Men are terrible leaders of their family and of literally everything, unless they are not attached to all the crap patriarchy teaches them, which is very rare. Look at this. He got tunnel vision. Wow, shocker. We didn't just see that on Megalopolis, and he had frequent nervous breakdowns as production dragged on. In the auto tapes, it says, everybody says, yes, well, Francis works best in a crisis. Who is saying that? You know, that's what his little enablers say. Like that guy who was like, no, I mean, ask the crew. Ask the crew how well this man works in a crisis. Even this man admits himself, I'm saying this one crisis I'm not good at. Gonna pull myself out of. I'm making a bad movie, so why should I go ahead? I'm gonna be bankrupt anyway. Why can't I just have the courage to say it's no good? That's almost anything I do to get out of this. I'm really thinking of what kind of sickness I can get. He didn't even want to be doing his own movie. And this was the start of his career. I mean, not really. He'd done some other stuff, but this is like he got Oscar nominated. Men fail forward. White men fail forward, always. Mediocre white men are called geniuses and the best leaders and given jobs like this, despite all that. But that's not it. He also was shooting in the midst of a civil war. Great judgment, bro. Oh, I know. I'll go to a civil war-torn nation. Look at this. Because of all this placed a massive target on his back and endangered the entire production. And by that, can you just say the crew? Because it's endangering all the people that this man has working for him. Even his colleague, George Lucas, who was originally going to direct this movie before 20th Century Fox took interest in his little space movie, tried to warn him that he was going to get himself killed. When your director friend is like, bro, please don't do that. You're like, that'll be fine. Great leadership and judgment. They also, to make matters worse, all the numerous helicopters that he rented from the Philippine government were constantly being drawn away to fight in a war, which got as close as 10 miles away from the set. He's literally filming this stuff next to the war zone. Audio tapes of this, he says, here I am with about 50 things that are just quasi in my control, like the Philippine government and the helicopters, which they take away whenever they feel like it. They've done it 3 times already. Every time they take his little choppers away, they ruin the shot, which costs them more money. Upwards of $10,000 a pop. You know, no wonder they make him sell his winery and his vineyard to fund things. They're like, bro, you are such a risk factor. Even if they weren't filming close to an active war zone, he's lucky that some of his hairy shots involving real helicopters and real extras running around, real explosives, did not cost them any lives. So this was like, imagine like what happened on Rust. This is like 10 times worse than that movie set. And that movie set was awful. So a typhoon destroyed half the sets. Mind you, he exploited labor in all of this too. So a typhoon rolled in and destroyed the majority of the sets, many of which were constructed by Filipino laborers who were paid pitiful wages for dangerous work. If y'all think that, of course, he exploits his own people, right? He exploits all of the unionized people with a union backing him. You don't think he's going to treat them like crap? Of course, the Filipino workers were not paid any more building the sets the second time. While they're dealing with this whole typhoon thing, he goes back to San Francisco to start, editing or whatever. And he dismisses everyone for a while. Many of the production were laid low with tropical diseases. Exotic parasites of various stripes took the opportunity to get medical treatment. I'm sure this man was like, suck it up. There was no doctor on set. Okay, nowadays they're supposed to have a medic on every set. But anyway, and people had simply poured diluted Clorox and vodka on their cuts and sores. Bottoms had hookworms, which wrecked his liver. Okay, Bottoms is a person. One guy had collapsed his ears oozing with blood. A Filipino construction worker died of rabies and was buried, oh my God, in his t-shirt. This almost seems unreal. It's so bad. Oh, and while they're doing all this, they slaughtered a water buffalo while they're doing it. Because they don't have the same rules there, right? They would have never been able to do that in the U.S. That's why all these corporations and king babies like this just love going overseas, because they can just exploit without all of the regulation and do to other people what they're not allowed to do to their own people anymore, legally at least. It was his wife who first took notice of the local tribes' ritual slaughter. Oh my God, were you like a codependent enabler here or what? They're slaughtering. It took a little convincing to get her husband to check it out, but once he saw it with his own eyes, he knew it had to be included in. Eleanor, you little. You know what? Y'all belong together. Like, you're not just going along with this. You're like happy to be a part of this man's madness. This woman probably was chronically codependent and was like, I know. I will wield my power through him. They, rightfully so, got criticism for this. Defended his inclusion of the water buffalo scene. The hands up cultural relativism. And then he says, well, he rolled it down to when in Rome. See, I told y'all. He's obsessed with the Roman Empire. This is the third time in the little that I have read about this man that he mentions Rome. He just figured, well, the tribe's going to slaughter him anyway. What's one more for a movie? Martin Sheen had a heart attack at the age of 36 on this. After months of drinking and filming in the jungle, he had a heart attack at the age of 36. And this is one of the main actors. Imagine what the crew's going through. They have no protection compared to the main actor. If he's doing this to the actors, no telling what he's doing to the crew, and more importantly, to the local. He also got the entire crew arrested in order to investigate human corpses on set. This reminds me of Quentin Tarantino, who's like, no, I need a choking scene and I want to choke Diane Kruger because it needs to look real, even though I would never know what real choking versus fake choking, acting choking is, because I've never choked anyone to death. These men, I hate all of them. Like, what? Someone's like, it smells like slow death around here. Oh, wait. Okay, so it's because they had not only garbage, dead rats, smelled like death, but it wasn't the rat. So Sheen's wife was arguing with a co-producer, which sent him in an argument with the set designer, who insisted the dead rats were intentional. It gives real atmosphere. At this point, a nearby prop assistant let out, wait till he hears about the dead bodies. I love you, props. I love you. Ratting them out. Oh, rat. Anyway, so Fredger heard rumors flying around about dead bodies on set, just like everyone else, but now he decided he'd better investigate. And what should he find behind the canteen but a pile of actual human corpses? Y'all, this film it should have just been called like Colonizer Now or whatever, because the lack of respect for the indigenous people of this place, their culture, human life, animal, everybody, like literally using real dead bodies of the people of that land. So this co-producer is furious. But apparently this dude had gone his way to purchase the pile of corpses from a supplier whose usual client was a nearby medical school, needing them to teach autopsy. A little digging revealed that this was a supplier who was a grave robber. When the Philippines police caught wind of the corpses, they collected the entire crew's passport. Y'all, this man and his production could have gotten all these people in so much trouble, in addition to like dying and stuff. So they had to pause production again, police to investigate, and make sure there was no actual murders occurring. Oh my God. They had to pause production to make sure that people weren't getting murdered. Oh my God. But the question of what the hell actually happened out there, I would love to know. Do you know who I really want to hear from? Is the locals and women, especially women locals. Now, it wasn't just this. You go any digging at all, Reddits, wherever, you will find another thing. The Shia thing should not surprise you, because this man enabled this Victor dude. This dude, Victor Salva. There's a whole article from BuzzFeed. How did this convicted? Keep working. This dude. So he did this little, his feature film debut, Clown House. How scary does that sound? He went to prison for essaying a 12-year-old actor who starred in this mess and videotaping the encounter, along with he was also possessing child. People were protesting it when they found this out. He pleaded guilty to having, read this for yourself, sentenced to 3 years in a state prison. And then after 15 months, he was released, and he's a lifetime offender. But guess what? So he gets off probation in 92, and then he directs this, Powder, one of Francis's films. People were like, whoa, hold on, what? Victim came forward and was like, hello, this man literally was convicted, which, it's very hard to get a conviction. Disney's like, we didn't know, we heard about it after. When asked about this, I'm going to tie this together in a second. When asked about the controversy surrounding Powder, Salva, this dude, was like, this has followed me around ever since it happened. It's not fair. But once people meet me, the phantoms go away and they realize I made a stupid, silly little mistake years ago. My past is going to follow me around for as long as people want to talk about it. So just shut up. My silly little mistake probably ruined a child's life. As a survivor of childhood essay myself, I am so lucky I am alive. So much of my self-destruction was rooted in that. And he's like, a silly mistake. Can y'all just stop talking about it? His victim, Nathan Forrest Winters, later released a documentary detailing all of this. If you want to watch, it's probably a very difficult thing to watch. Dude just made a lot of stuff, including something called Jeepers Creepers. 2001, Salva wrote and directed Jeepers Creepers, executive produced by his mentor. Do you really want to mentor? So Francis Ford Coppola mentored him, which was his breakout hit and set a record for largest Labor Day box office ever. Great. Shia, this dude. Then he went on to make Jeepers Creepers 2. Why not a second one with the little... and he produced that one too. By the way, all these people are related to him. Nicolas Cage, Jason Schwartzman, Sofia Coppola, Roman. All these people. Nepo baby. You know what? If you're a Nepo baby, that's fine, but at least you better own up to it. But look at this. This is why I can't stand you, bro. In addition to all the other stuff. In 2006, this is what he said. You have to remember, while this was a tragedy, that the difference in age between Victor and the boy was very small. Very small. Can y'all just forget about it, okay? Victor was practically a child himself. Okay, so under white supremacy culture, patriarchy and all these things, we give men, white men especially, white people and men, the benefit of the doubt. We minimize things. We infantilize grown people, right? As a white woman, I know this happens all the time. I infantilize myself when I'm in trouble, right? Men do this too. I'm just a little baby boy. I don't know. He was a baby, just a small boy. Victor, practically a child, was 29. Practically a child himself. 29. And the boy was 12. So, Francis, when you say things like this makes me think that you've done this. Every time one of these men comes and says some unhinged stuff like this, I know that the enablers are always going to minimize, give benefits of the doubt, do all that stuff, right? That is what is afforded the people of power. But this is next level. This is like, I did this too. Why are y'all so mad? Why are you making such a big deal? He's practically a boy at 29. This is the same people who will adultify women, especially women of color. How much you want to bet they were doing all kinds of stuff over there in the Philippines? If this is what he says about a man, he's 29, and then a literal child who is a boy, imagine what he thinks about women and girls. Which reminds me of this dude. Well, I did a video on this last year. I just looked him up again. This guy, literally, every time a white man especially gets in trouble for doing some crazy stuff, some racist stuff, some schmegulance or whatever, he's just a kid. Even though they're in their 20s or 30s even. And then in the same breath, will talk about literal girls like they're women. These men get endless chances. And then the women they abuse have their Calvin Klein beautiful pictures pulled because of sexism and racism and all the things. Oh, in case I forgot to tell you, this is Ryan Law. Remember American Swimmer? Tried to blame a bunch of his crimes. Literally used racism to try to get out of it. And then he rebranded and went on Dancing with the Stars. And now he's just a good dad. Oh God, I gotta talk about him. There's something about this story that is just so perfect for how men rebrand. They rebrand through women and children. That's why these men want children and women. They get so much social capital. When they get in trouble, they lean heavy on Family Guy. Fake conversion to religion. I don't know why. They are obsessed with Catholicism now. But yeah, I'm going to be a priest now so I don't get in trouble with the law for all the things I've done. Even though he's had endless chances. They will hide behind AA. I'm sober now, right? I'm not criticizing AA. I'm not in AA. I know a lot of people who are or have been. Please don't start a conversation about that in my comments. I just want to say every time one of these dudes like AA saved my life, I don't know what they're in, but you literally one of the first rules of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. You don't ever say I am in Fight Club. I'm literally not in Fight Club. I'm not an alcoholic. I drank a lot and stuff, but I'm not an alcoholic. Just so I'm sober, but not because I'm alcoholic. It's because I'm narcoleptic, and when I fall asleep, when I'm drunk, I'm not fun. I fall asleep. I also tired of hangover. Anyway, I am naturally this drunk, if you can believe. But they'll use getting sober Or, religion. What else? What else? What else do they do to rebrand, y'all? There's got to be other ways. But it's like, or they'll, like Harvey and Bill Cosby, all of a sudden they will have a walker. Now they're just a helpless old man. Whatever they do, don't believe it. These abusers will do anything. Anyway, thank you for your time. Please join my Patreon. Even if you can't afford a tier, I still announce things over there. Drop fun stuff every once in a while. Please like, share, comment. Et voilà.